Hi, folks. My name is Eric Barnett, and I'm a singer-songwriter from Charleston, South Carolina, and you're listening to Songs of the Unsung. Songs of the Unsung is a podcast where I talk to fellow singer-songwriters about their music and their influences. This week, my guest is Doug Walters. Pretty interesting story how I met Doug. We'll go through that, but Doug is a really genuine and interesting guy. We share a lot of influences and interests, as you soon find out. This is also one of the first podcasts where I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Doug's microphone cable was doing some really weird intermittent stuff, which hopefully I have the audio worked out, but I'll have that fixed for the future. That aside, enjoy my conversation with Doug Walters. Hey, Doug, thanks for coming over today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We met under kind of strange circumstances.
Yeah.
Won't say where, but Doug and I met because we were double booked at a gig, which it happens.
Yes, it does.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
And this particular time, it was actually kind of, I don't want to say fortuitous. I'd played the night before, and then I was going to play like 2 gigs the next day. And this is a gig that's real easy to get to, real easy to set up and everything. One of those gigs, it's an easy gig.
Right.
So but I always get there real early. I got there early and set up, and then Doug walked up holding the guitar case, and like as soon as I saw him walk up, I was just like,
yeah.
Oh, it happened. Okay.
Yeah. I felt so bad. I just kind of wanted to sneak away, but I also wanted to meet you.
Yeah.
And see, like, did I mess up? Because usually if there's a mistake, it's usually my fault. But I had it down. I'm glad you brought that up because this is part of it. Sometimes things happen that are not ideal. Getting double booked, that happens. Restaurants, or clubs, or places, they have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of fish to fry, sometimes bigger fish than the musician,
Yeah, for sure.
It's never fun or cool, and it kind of almost seems to pit the two musicians against each other.
Yep.
And like what is like a battle royale? What do we do?
Yeah. It's a situation we didn't ask for. It's
right.
A situation, And I asked you a couple. I said, "Man, I was trying to think of a reason to just go. I'll pack up and go, man. I'm good. Like my wife could stand to see me one of these nights."
Well, sometimes when that happens, it's nice if you can afford to take a night off. That's cool too. I'm glad we're bringing this up because it's happened, and how you handle it is important. It used to bother me, or kind of. I would try not to let it bother me too bad, but it's not ideal, and it's kind of a pain. But I used to play with a drummer. We had a band together. His name was Ballard.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows him. I learned a lot from him, as I learned a lot from a lot of people. But how he handled himself when stuff like this would happen, I just thought was so. He just had so much finesse and so much grace, and he was so smooth about it all. He would just be like, no problem. Like especially if the other band was already set up, even if it was us to play. He would insist on, he'd say, no, y'all go ahead and play. We'll just sit here and have some drinks and order some food and support the other band.
Sure.
And that was not my knee-jerk reaction to those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I saw how well that went over. We all want the same thing, no matter what in your career or your profession or in your personal life or relationship. We all want, security. And I've learned the best way to do that is like just winning favor with someone, is more important than winning the actual battle or the war or the argument or whatever. You see a lot of people dig in and, like I'm going to be right and I'm going to prove this. And I'm like, well, congratulations. You get to sleep on the couch now for a week because you proved your wife wrong,
Right.
Whereas opposed to just kind of understanding that mistakes happen and that, things that it's cool. It's not the end of the world. And then I just saw how how many doors he had open to him because of his attitude.
Sure.
And so you get like at the top of the list. They're like, they kind of made a mistake. So they kind of owe you one a little bit at the club.
100%. Yeah.
Of course, they don't want to say that. But if you're really cool about it, you'll end up getting in with them better, maybe a better gig or a better night or more gigs, or like you'll get the call when they need somebody. So I learned a lot with that. I was that night that I saw you, I remember being inspired and being excited to play. I think I learned a couple new songs, but I was totally cool with not playing, and you were already set up. So, but the how you was so cool about it. And
I looked at it from a couple different ways. I work a day job, so that's my my bills are paid, my lights are on. I played the night before. I had a couple after. I'd known you'd had a couple canceled recently because the weather was inclement.
Right.
And that's your meal ticket.
Yes,
playing music. So I looked at it from a lot of different ways. I thought, why be selfish when it's obvious what needs to happen?
Yeah.
Number two, the guy that booked at the venue was actually really cool about it. He said, "Listen, guys, I made a mistake. And I'm really sorry." And he said to me, "Listen, man, I'll bust open this calendar. We'll get things worked out. I'll get." So with all of that stuff happening, to me, it's a no-brainer to just we can work together, man.
Right.
So many.
Well, that's a great attitude to have. Some people don't. Yeah. But I could tell that you were just a good dude, and I'd heard your name, and the people at Accent on Wine, Scott Oliver has told me about it. And I've been wanting to make the connection anyway. I'm pretty introverted. I'm kind of a homebody. So I don't really go out a lot. And that's something that I wish that I was more naturally inclined to do, because I want to support other people and see their art and stuff. But, I do end up playing a lot. And then if I have a night off, it is nice just to kind of chill at home.
Yeah.
But it was great to finally meet. I was like, oh, I've heard a lot about you, and I know you have the podcasts, and just the way you were about that and how you, quote unquote, gave me the gig. I thought that was very cool and felt very respected. And I immediately had, a lot of love and respect for you. Just seeing, I guess what I'm trying to say is when you get thrown a curveball, how you handle it, you could end up, you may not get the gig or that money that night, but you end up maybe having a relationship or friendship with the club or the other person.
Absolutely, man.
So that's kind of an important lesson for you young guys out there, young guys and girls out there. Things you can expect. Just the fact that we even live in a town where we can play or make a living is. I don't take that for granted. I'm extremely grateful. So. And I've made mistakes. I've double booked, not in a long time, but I try to stay on top of that. Have to have one calendar, hard copy I keep at home.
Yes.
Now I will take pictures of it, so when I'm out in the field and somebody offers me a gig, but you'll learn. Like now, if you blow it one good time, you will. Yep, there you go. You too. Yeah.
Took one yesterday.
And you gotta update your picture, because if you write one down and don't take a picture, then you're like, uh-oh.
The thing I'm bad about is I don't text while I'm driving, but occasionally I will read a text while I'm driving.
Right.
Because it shows up on my watch.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of the time I'll get like, booking is hard. Because not every venue is booking for the same dates at the same time.
Right.
So you'll send a venue a few lists of your available dates, and you might not hear back from them in a month.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, you've sent another venue those dates, and they've said, well, I'll take this one and this one. And then the other one gets back to you saying, well, I'll take this one and this one. Right. And if you're not careful, you can confirm and say, yeah, and then you've double booked. Yeah. Or you'll get a text, and to me, it's copy it down on that hard copy. Like, especially if I don't have it on me. That's
yeah. You gotta stay on top of that for sure. Booking is my least favorite of the whole, everything that comes with being a musician. That's always been the most frustrating. People are busy. They don't respond. You feel like you're bothering people.
Yeah.
If you saw, like, for every gig that I have, there's probably like 10 gigs that never responded,
Oh, for sure.
But once you get on the radar at a place or in your town, it gets easier. But it's never, and now you can text or shoot somebody an email or go to their Facebook page or something, and that's easier. But before, when we didn't have text or whatever, and you had to actually either drive to the club or call the person and they're never there, that was harder. It's gotten easier, but it's still my least favorite.
Oh man,
part of it.
You used to have to like drop by and like drop off a CD.
And you knew they were just going to
throw
a
tape.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to get listened to. And so that part of it has gotten easier. However, because there's so many different ways to contact people now.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses don't keep up with their Facebook pages.
Right, exactly.
Or you don't know, like, how do I get to you best? Is it email? Is it phone? Do I just show up at the right time? And I would be happy. Let me know the right way.
Yeah.
That's the only way you'll hear from me.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So, and you
don't want to bother somebody, but you do want to, you want to eat and pay your bills,
Yeah. Yeah. The booking of the gigs, man. There is nothing like a venue that will just say, hey, man, after you play today, let's bust open the calendar, get you booked through the rest of the year.
It's very rare that happens. But some places do.
Yeah.
I remember it would take forever, like weeks and many, many phone calls and stop-bys to get in touch with the person who actually books.
Yeah.
And then almost 85% of the time they would be like, well, let's talk. I'd be on the phone with them and they'd say, yeah, well, when I have my calendar, let's talk. I'm like, we're talking now.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I gotta make an appointment to actually get the gig,
It seems though, you gotta, and it's a lot of the time if you're sitting there in person, like if you're in a venue and you just played a gig, sometimes you can see them like, if they have a calendar, you're like, I got to go right now.
Yeah.
This is because what they'll do is, it's easy now. They'll bust it open and give you 4 dates,
Yeah.
But
if you're lucky enough, that's what I've learned. A lot of people will sit down in one window of time, like 1 hour, and get all their booking done for like a month or 2 or 3. And if you're not lucky enough to be like part of that wave or be available if they call you and you're not there, you've kind of missed it for several months worth. So I try to kind of learn the rhythms of, like when to call. I feel like a Monday or a Tuesday, but not at lunch, not too early in the morning,
everybody's different. Too.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
And you'll kind of learn a good time. I think like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, like on a slower day is not a bad time.
Right.
But then you also got to remember they've got about 10 other fires to put out.
Sure.
The dishwasher, he's not there. Something broke down, So it's not, even though it feels like it's all about you, you're like, I'm the reason y'all have the restaurant even, it's not, you are at the very bottom of the list of their concerns. So,
I mean, music is constantly an afterthought.
Yeah.
And especially like in a cover music market where, I think people know I'm from Ohio and I apologize for that. But there's actually a lot more places to play original music there.
Oh, really?
And when you're in an original music market, it's not quite the afterthought that it is when it's a cover music market.
Wow.
There's a lot of places that'll book like multi-act nights. Like it'll be 3 hours, 3 musicians, 45 minutes a pop. You get up there, play your own songs. And what I love about those places is when a venue establishes themselves as that being their thing.
Yeah.
That's what people expect.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going someplace and the people are there to expect to hear your songs?
That doesn't happen here a lot, but there are some places. Accent on Wine comes to mind.
Accent, All and All Green.
Yeah.
There's some great places here for that.
That you're right. That is cool. I guess the next best thing is just kind of working your own originals into your cover gig. I've also learned another trick is they really are only kind of paying attention to you the first time you play.
Yeah.
And really like the first couple of songs.
Yep.
You either get the nod or you don't. And then once you kind of in with them, they're like, oh yeah, this guy's good. then you can kind of do what you want. It's not like they're sitting there with their clipboard saying, well, now we didn't recognize that song or this song.
Right.
If they're good and you're good, you can kind of do what you want. But it is very refreshing to play a place where they're expecting,
sure,
original art. It's a beautiful thing. But I actually love the songs that all the covers that I do, I love them just as much.
Oh, same. Yeah.
So, Charleston, though it could use a little bit more places like Eddie's Attic or something where they, come in and sit down, be quiet, listen to the artiste. Charleston is a town that you can actually, make a good living doing what you want, playing the songs you like. So I'm happy, there's a lot of places I could play just all original if I want to. And sometimes I think I'm going to, but then just playing a well-written song, even if you didn't write it, is still really inspiring. So even if they said, you could play all originals. In fact, I think they have said that at Accent. You could play all originals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, but I actually want to play some covers. And you can kind of put your own little twist on a cover.
For sure.
So there's plenty of places that are open like that in Charleston. It's a town where you can make a good living and play as much as you want. It's pretty amazing. I did not know. What part of Ohio are you?
About an hour north of Columbus.
Okay.
You ever watched Shawshank Redemption?
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes from there.
Okay.
Where they filmed it.
I got you. And there's plenty of places to play.
Not
there.
right there. There's the Cincinnati and the Dayton scene are pretty good. I'd never played Cleveland a whole lot, but there's places in Columbus and Cleveland as well. Mm-hmm. I went to college in Bowling Green, which is northwest Ohio, and it was good. It was a college town, so there was a lot of like original bands just kind of doing
a
sort of pseudo punk thing, which was fun when I was that age.
Yeah, right.
You from Columbia?
I am
originally.
Yeah, I grew up in a suburb, about 10 miles outside of Columbia called Irmo.
Okay.
I went to Irmo High School, graduated in 87, went to USC. I was on the six and a half year plan.
Hey, but you made it out, right?
Yeah. And then, and look at me now.
Yeah.
English major, like I'm ever going there.
I mean, it works for songwriting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I was dating a girl from Columbia that was going to school in College of Charleston. And I wasn't really doing anything after I graduated. I was working in a kitchen, and I'd sort of accidentally absorbed the head chef. I'm not schooled, or I'm not really a chef, but I ended up cooking, kind of making. It was a gourmet restaurant. It was a good restaurant. It was a good gig, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. So that's what I was doing. But you end up working 60 hours a week. It was not really fun.
Did you make the mistake of displaying a basic level of competence, so therefore you got relied on for everything?
No, it was more that people kept getting fired or quitting.
Sure.
So I just sort of by default.
The cream rises to the top.
Yeah. I could see that being cool if that's your thing. There's a lot of art to that, but it just it was frustrating because you're so handcuffed by the it's a chain.
Hours of it.
And also like you're only as strong as your weakest link. So
yes.
if you had a good night planned, or you had a bunch of specials planned or whatever, and then somebody didn't show up, or something didn't work, then it just always seemed to be a struggle and frustrating. So when I had a chance to come down here and be closer to her, there was another couple of friends that needed a roommate. So it all kind of worked out. I moved down here. I guess it was kind of the summer of '93. And by the Christmas season that year, me and the girl had parted ways. But she is the person who kind of got me started. She'd bought me a acoustic guitar and was going to give it to me for Christmas.
Okay.
We broke up before Christmas.
So you kind of started. I don't want to say late.
Yeah, no, it was a late start. I was in my mid-20s.
Okay.
But she lived with a girl that played guitar, and her roommate that played guitar had another friend that played guitar, and they would come over, and I would kind of watch them, and the friend kind of showed me some chords, and I'd pick it up, and I was always very, very interested in music. Huge music fan, and my best friend was a musical phenom, amazing guitar player from very early on, like 12, 13. So it was in me, but I didn't think I could, play guitar and anything that cool. No, I can't do that. That's too hard. But I guess my girlfriend at the time saw some potential or some promise or something. So she bought me a guitar, and even after we broke up, she still gave it to me. And that was very cool. I would have never bought my own guitar,
Okay.
I did get very depressed after moving down here. But the guitar kind of saved me in a way. I just started playing, and it just kind of started clicking. It kind of came to me quickly. And then I went to go see this guy that used to come around town, a guitar player named Gib Droll.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Virginia Beach, and he had a band, kind of like a Stevie Ray Vaughan type guy, kind of guitar slinger dude, which was what I was really into was that kind of thing. And he was playing at the Windjammer, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. This is what I need to be doing. And I was really watching what he was doing. I'd already been playing guitar a little bit, and I knew some basic stuff. Somebody showed me the pentatonic scale, and I'm just like, he's just making little rectangles on the neck. I could do that,
Oh yeah.
So I just made up my mind right then, like that's what I want to do. So I went home, and I remember getting down on my knees and, dear Lord, please, lay this on me. I know I can do this. And next day I ordered a Strat, and it came in. And I mean, as soon as I could start making chords, I started writing songs,
Really?
Right away. And I put together a band within the first year of playing, and we started getting gigs. We played at a Hell's Angels place called Harley Nights on, I guess that's Sproul or Upper Meeting or something. And I just loved it. I mean, I wish I would have started earlier, but as a songwriter, I feel like I did a lot of living, and collecting little bits, and.
Sure. And I'm just being into music. I mean, you like what when you first started getting into music, what sort of stuff were you digging on?
Well, when I was a little kid, the first band that really hit me was Kiss. And I remember I was one of the only dudes I knew. There was an older guy down the street that was into music, but a lot of people were casual listeners, but I would listen to a whole album over and over and over, and sit down with the lyrics and draw write the lyrics out or draw the album cover. It was a deep, deep thing for me. But as I got older, I was kind of more into heavier things. I really liked Van Halen and AC/DC. But the guy that came along to really, really inspire me first was Hendrix. Guy, the aforementioned dude down the street. He played guitar, and he was into music, and I would go and kind of watch him and his bands play, and I was really into like noise and feedback and stuff. And he was like, "Well, then you'd like this cat," and he laid Foxy Lady on me. And I must have been, I don't know, 9, 10, but it just floored me, man. I remember I got a Walkman, a Sony Walkman. And I was a loner, and I'd walk around in the woods or ride my bike, and I would just listen to my tapes, and I think I had Smash Hits, and
that's a good one.
Yeah. That was a really good one to to hit me first because that encompassed so much. You had the blues, you had, hard rock, you had soul. There was so much.
You even had like Dylan influence.
Oh, totally.
Like, yeah.
Some country.
Hendrix was so Dylan influenced too. Yeah. A lot of people don't really realize how much he idolized Bob Dylan.
And his songwriting, that gets overlooked. But the reason we all know Jimmy is because he had such great songs.
For sure.
So just studying and digging on somebody that was that had, he had the look, he had the sound, he had the guitar playing down, the songwriting, all of it, the lyrics, it was a great influence for me. I don't think anybody's really been that. I've been into that hard. Maybe Bowie later.
Okay.
But definitely Jimmy at first for a long time. Kind of fell in a hole with him, and still kind of like I'm kind of. I just love music and kind of that's sort of like my church. I'm sort of like shamelessly, not really worship, but like I was telling you, I watched that Tom Petty documentary, and I mean, it'll move me to tears, man. I still get like, at that passion for music and love for music and being a fan of music has never gone away. And in fact, the better musician I get, the more of appreciation I have for them. Like now I'm good enough. I'm to a level where I can understand their writing or their singing or their choice of melodies and, their choices even more because now I'm kind of more hip to.
You're starting to feel all like the subtle things that they're really doing below all that surface level.
Right.
Like I don't understand the people that don't get off on music the way I do. There are songs where, I'll be in the car with my wife and there will be a song playing and I'll kind of have to look out the window and kind of wipe my eye, because that song's getting me, man.
Oh yeah.
And there are songs that will give me goosebumps and there are songs that, and nothing else does that to me in that way.
Right. Right. That's kind of how you know that like it's for you and it's just going to make you better to be that into it. I'm that way with movies too. A little bit like that with painting, but definitely with music. And it can't be like a casual thing for me. Like I won't just listen to something as background. It's an event.
Sure.
So a lot of times I won't even listen to music if I can't, like a lot of times, like if I'm watching a movie, it could be a pivotal scene, but if there's a song, especially like a song that I've known or that I've covered but hadn't heard it, I'm really listening to, that song so much that if I'm at home, I got to rewind and watch the movie again,
Right.
If I'm in the movie theater, I got to see the movie again, but
right.
It's not a casual thing. It's, it's some people are just so moved by music, but I think that'll just make you a better writer and a better musician. And
at the same time though, what I've noticed is if a song doesn't move me, if I feel like I can feel a lot of people's intentions behind their songs.
Yeah.
And if I hear and it's usually a big radio hit that's selling a lot of records. But if I hear a song that I can just tell was manufactured, like in a factory to be a hit, and they did all the science behind it to make sure that the kids love it, and it doesn't connect with me, I can't take it. Like I can't sit there and listen to it.
I will. There's been times where I've like worked in a kitchen or something and been forced to have to hear music that I don't like, and I will still try to find, and this way with movies too. If I'm go see a movie and it ends up being a turkey, there's still something that
you can learn something from it, for sure.
Like, and why is this popular? Or just even like in a movie, just how it's edited or lit, or just one line. There's still things that you can glean or take from really any art if you want to or whatever. I had a FedEx route, and my route was a rural route, and I could only get this one station, and it was kind of older hits from back in the 80s and so forth. And I just remember studying like why is this song why is this a hit? You know? And just really listening to the arrangements and the structure and where the bridge came in, their choices, and you can learn a lot, from anything, but it is, it can be challenging. There's some, thank God there's so many different people and so many different, there's a lot of colors out there. Not all of them are for you,
There's one summer I worked at Best Buy, and Best Buy, feel sorry for those guys because they hear the same music on repeat every 20 minutes. It's actually, it's like a playlist. And there was one summer that I'd hate to do the math on how many times I heard Sheryl Crow's Soak Up the Sun.
Wow.
And I can't, I've got PTSD from that. I can't go back.
I had a van, like the band van, but it was my car. And it had a tape deck in it, and I had Van Halen 1984 stuck in it for 2 years. So it was either nothing or 1984. So I heard that album so many times, and it's my least favorite of the classic lineup,
Sure. Yep.
But it's got some great songs and great songwriting and killer guitar playing on it. Now I know that album really well.
I'm sure you do.
But it's surprising how many times I'd be like, do I listen to this again? And then just crank it up. Yeah. So I heard that song, that album quite a bit.
Your initial experience kind of in the Charleston music scene, I saw you were in a lot of bands kind of earlier on. The Secrets, the Fairy Godmothers, is that still ongoing?
No, the Fairy Godmothers was a duo with, I mentioned Ballard before.
Yeah.
He moved to Athens.
Okay.
Something happened. Yeah. When I moved here, like I said, as soon as I could make chords, I started writing. And I called a drummer that I knew from back home, and had a friend that played guitar and kind of made him play bass. And we had a trio. And I just moved here, and I didn't really know much about the city or anything. I just remember when I would drive to Charleston, there would be the name of a road that I would pass that I just thought was very cool. Called Ashley Phosphate. And I didn't realize that's like, I probably shouldn't have, but I named the band Ashley Phosphate because I felt like if we played in another town, like Ashley was so vague. It could be a guy, it could be a girl,
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, if you're not from Charleston, it could mean anything. From Charleston, if you're not from Charleston, you're listening to this podcast, that's the most normalist, like white bread road.
Yeah.
Because everything goes through that road. And,
right.
And I've often heard it called Ashley Frustrate Road.
Yeah.
Because
it's always
jam-packed.
Always. And then there's a wreck on top of it,
Yeah.
So it ended up in retrospect kind of the people that lived down here, and they would, I'm sure they were like, why does that fool name it, after that road of all roads,
right.
I just thought it had a cool ring to it. But I was like right out of the gate, I was, getting such a late start and then being able to do something so cool and then getting gigs like at Cumberland's and, cool places. I was just, I kind of missed that guy. I was like, I wasn't good enough to know that I was no good at all. I was just so inspired and so on fire and just so much passion.
Oh man, the first time you can get in a room with a couple people and you're making a big noise.
Oh, it was magic, man.
Yeah, it's like a caveman again. You're just beating your chest and making a big noise.
There was nothing that even came close to how cool it was. And so we went through several members, like we switched bass players, and then had a different drummer who ended up being one of my best and closest friends still to this day. But then this girl, I worked at Med Deli. I don't know if you remember that. That was over there. It's over there by where it used to be, right there by Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
at Earth Fair Shopping Center.
Yeah.
I worked at a place called Mad Deli, and there was a girl that I worked there that kept telling me how much I would love this soul band that kind of played in the hood. And I don't know why I didn't register, but I never really, went to go see them or even remembered that she was saying that. One night I saw her out and she just said, "Come on, I'm going to take you." Because they played either every Saturday or every other Saturday at this place called the Moulin Rouge. And I went there and it was this soul band. It was some older black dudes, and it was a keyboard, drums, bass, and a singer that played sax. But they didn't have a guitar player. And there was really nobody in this little club, real funky club. And I asked them if they mind if I sat in the next time they played, which was the next Saturday. And they said, "Yeah, that'd be cool." So I remember I brought my amp in, and then I went back to the van and got my guitar, and I was walking in, and this old dude on the sidewalk, me and my girlfriend at the time, this became an inside joke with us. He said, "You just toting that thing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Can you play, or are you just toting that thing?" And so every time she'd see me pick up my guitar to walk out, she'd say, you just toting that thing?"
Oh, man.
I said, "We'll see. Probably tonight. I'll probably just toting it."
I've been toting it for 40 years.
So that I hit it off. I was way in, because I was into Hendrix, I was into Funkadelic, I was into James Brown by then. So they were soul and funk R&B band, and I just fit right on in there. Kind of brought a little edge to it.
Sure.
That's the guitar player, the fiery guitar player, in the soul band. It works. It worked well. And I ended up being with them for like 12 years. Learned a lot. Became very close. The drummer kind of had a complex relationship with him.
Okay.
I love him to death. I learned a lot from him, but we clashed, and I was not good at the finesse that it takes to work with other people and personalities and egos. Like it's a give and take.
Sure.
Also, you want to try to nurture and foster a relationship. It's not always. It's not a means to an end.
Right.
A band should be a friendship, and I mean, it just seems to be better if you understand each other and you can communicate. But I was very young, and I
actually, that's the thing I miss the most about. I was in bands in college a lot, and it was a lot of college kids, and you knew you weren't going to make any money. You were all just playing it for the love of playing music, and you were friends first, and then bandmates second. And I moved to Charleston maybe 5 years ago.
Oh,
and finding other people that a lot of the time, if you want to try to find a bandmate, put a band together, it's people who are in 7 or 8 other bands.
Right.
And
That's
they're like,
very true down here for sure.
How much money are we making? And you don't get, that doesn't build that camaraderie. It builds like I'm going to show up and play and put the minimum amount in. And
if you're the songwriter and you kind of have a vision, it's way more to it than that.
Yes.
So it can be very frustrating.
Yep.
But at the same time, you also don't want to be like, that's another thing that I feel like I could have stood to have a lot of work. I wish, looking back, one of the regrets I have is not respecting other people and more that like they're not there just to help me see my vision. The only people are only going to make time for stuff that they find fun and that they love.
That's true.
And I kind of felt like I was more about getting from point A to point B, more so than appreciating and loving the friendship and kind of putting that first.
Right.
So if I had taken up with a person like me, I don't think I would have lasted. I don't think it would have been fun because I was so dead set on, accomplishment, achievement. Like, let's get this right. Let's be as great as possible at all costs, and some people just kind of want to have fun,
Sure.
And some people would I'd rather just go play covers in front of a whole room that we're just partying. We're just having a good time, drinking some beers.
There's a place for all of it, too.
Yeah. So, it's, that was learned a lot along the way. The secrets, it came to a point to where it just was not healthy for me. It was very hard to make this decision to leave because the money by then was really good, and I didn't really realize this, but it was also the role. It was satisfying on an ego level to be,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that was hard to walk away from, but it was. I had to because I was making changes. I got clean and sober. And I realized that this was a trigger, that being in this band and all the complications. And, there were things that I could have, it didn't have to be so hard or complex, but the way I was, it just would have been, it was healthier for me to not be a part of that.
Sure.
So that was very hard to leave, but I did. And then I would play with other people. I just
where Torture Town came in?
Not quite.
There's a little...
I ended up playing with a guy named Rick Cribb.
Okay.
And I started doing solo gigs. But at the time, I was really trying to just do my own songs and weird covers. So it wasn't
Sure.
really like a good, the solo thing wasn't that successful. But I realized that I was going to have to, I couldn't wait around for other people, and I couldn't wait around for a songwriter, and I couldn't wait around for a singer,
Right.
So I decided to just do my own thing.
Sure.
To learn, how to, instead of being in a band that was successful, just kind of put my own thing together. That was, and I had an first album came out, I guess it was like 13 years ago, called Into the Light.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played with Rick at the same time. Eventually playing covers, Ballard saw me and said he'd play drums with me, and we ended up forming Fairy Godmothers.
Mm-hmm.
But like me and my best friend, Jeff Caldwell, I was writing a batch of like really heavier songs, Torture Town, and even though Jeff's a guitar player, he played drums in that band, and I would write the songs, but he would help fine tune the arrangements. Sure. And he had really good suggestions and just a great mind for writing songs and singing and harmonies and melodies and so forth. And we did that, but this town, they didn't really embrace the hard rock,
Sure.
like maybe like Cleveland does or something.
Right.
So it never, even though that was a really good album and a really good project and a good band, and I felt was pretty valid, it didn't. It was a little heavy handed,
I listened to it, and it's as rock as rock can be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look up rock in the dictionary, that's what you get.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say that it sounded like AC/DC.
Yeah.
But it's rock and roll in the same way that
right.
AC/DC is rock and roll. I saw I was in like a thrift store once, and I saw a Damn Yankees shirt, and unfortunately it didn't fit me because on the back, it's not like I'm a big Damn Yankees fan,
Mm-hmm.
but on the back it said 100% all-American shit kicking rock and roll. And that's the kind of the quote that came to my head when I was listening. I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah. It was good. And I still love the hard rocking, like in high school, I was into Judas Priest, I was in AC/DC, Van Halen, Iron Maiden, heavier stuff, heavier guitar stuff. That's why Hendrix was right up my alley, because there was some heavy guitar in that.
Right.
So I really love that, and I'll still write some heavy songs, if they drift out of the ether into my lap. But I got drums around 2000 and started playing, and right around then I started getting tinnitus, pretty bad tinnitus.
Okay. Yeah.
But it didn't slow me down. you would think that it would have, and I wish I just kicked myself. I just wish I would have, but just been, I'd get in the car the next day, and the radio would be this loud.
Right.
I'm like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? After a gig, driving home, listening to it this loud, or playing the drums, and now put like a big speaker on both sides of my ears so I could hear the music really loud while I play the drums really loud.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized the ringing that I thought was kind of funny, or even like a badge of honor, it didn't go away, and it wasn't so funny or fun.
Yeah, that's
anymore.
not very cool.
No. And I'm like, wow, I got a long way to go. So,
sure.
Being in bands and kind of loud stuff with the drums and stuff, it became more challenging, and there was no denying how bad it was for my ears. We all have weak links, time will take its toll on your body, just living. And some people have different weak links. Mine, unfortunately, were my ears. I know people that play louder and more gig, like my buddy Jeff, I'm like, your ears don't ring? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, take some of my ringing.
Right.
So I knew that was eventually probably going to be something that I probably shouldn't do. And then I ended up doing a gig with these good friends where I actually just ended up singing in a Black Sabbath tribute kind of thing. And during the rehearsals for that and the two gigs we did around Halloween, after we got done with that, the ringing went to this level that was like unbearable. So that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. So it scared me so bad that I just kind of canceled the rest of the gigs, and I kind of got depressed and kind of lost my way, not only from the tinnitus, but other bad habits, and just stopped playing music altogether. Got a job with FedEx. Then I realized how loud those trucks were.
Yeah.
So I didn't think I could do that, but I had a boss that was very cool, and he got me my own box truck that wasn't loud. Yeah.
Nice.
That came with, having to get out of the cab, walk around to the back to open up that big heavy door 150 times a day.
Right.
That wasn't fun. And that wasn't a good fit for me, but my little side hustles were always delivery, because I could be alone and I could still work on lyrics and think about music and stuff. I delivered city paper, and I get a lot of thoughts and thinking and lyrics and stuff when you're doing something mundane.
Sure.
I remember John Prine said, he was a mailman, and he said, when you're on the right street, there's really nothing much to think about. Like, if you know your route, you don't have to think about it.
Right.
So you can think about other things. Like, I always loved coming up with lyrics, and it was like putting a puzzle together. So if I had to do something like a route that lasted several hours, by the time I was finished, I could probably have a good verse,
Sure.
Gone through 100 different lines,
Most of my record I wrote while I was working in a factory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I always had the mindset where they made me work just ungodly hours, many hours. But I always thought, like, they can have my body, they can't have my mind.
Yeah.
So I was either like listening to audiobooks while I was there, or I was writing songs, or I was doing something that made it so they didn't have me altogether.
And I guess it was a mundane enough task to where you could think about other things.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, I've got all my fingers too,
right,
so it's all good.
And it probably was it loud work?
It was.
Okay.
It was. I had to wear earplugs most of the time.
Okay.
They make headphones that look like earplugs.
Oh, wow.
We actually weren't allowed to listen to music, wear headphones or whatever. But I'm like, dude, I'm here like 60, 70 hours a week.
Wow.
I'm going to listen to my music and my audiobooks.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
I
I like podcasts and audiobooks just as much. Anything inspiring.
Yeah.
So I didn't play music I didn't even touch the guitar. For like 5 or 6 years, probably.
Really?
I didn't think about music. I didn't really realize it, but I was very depressed. It just was not my life at that time was not a good fit. I ended up dating a girl who kind of brought me back to who I was always supposed to be. Just her love for me was so real and so deep. And I'd always kind of held love, anything other than art or music, I've always kind of held at arm's length,
Sure.
But
anything you can't personally control.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that I could be, maybe let you down or have to feel your disappointment in me over.
Right.
But I remember, so we were together for a couple of years, but I wasn't really taking that seriously. And then we parted ways. And I remember just kind of laying there and thinking, boy, I'm getting older. What if just as an experiment, I just really just let myself be loved and just kind of take away all the resistance and the walls for loving and being loved. And I knew the only way to really do that was to do it in earnest and to be completely clean and sober and really grounded. So I knew that it was really real, and I knew that I would never find anybody that would love me like she did. So I made the pitch. I was like, let me give me another chance, and I'm going to be all in, And I did, and she plays. She's not a professional musician, but she plays guitar. I mean, a little bit of guitar and ukulele, but she plays piano. And she likes Dylan and cool songs, and when we got back together, she was in a kind of on a song, playing music kind of wave, and I just started playing again with her. My fingers like way out of shape, or way real rusty or whatever. But being sober and just being open,
Yeah.
I can't really explain it. It's like a miracle. Like the love for music and the inspiration and the passion for music came flooding back in a way that it's never, ever been there. Looking back now, that whole time, from the time that I first got that guitar until I kind of retired, I see now that I was kind of using music as sort of a means to an end in a way, and which speaks to why some of the relationships I had with some of the bands I was in wasn't as real and as deep as they could have and should have been. It was more like, I need you to help me get my thing, across the finish line.
Music is a device. It was a tool.
Yeah. Maybe to get love, maybe to get the pat on the back, maybe to get, value and worth. I see that now. And that always leads to suffering because it's not real. If you're using something to get something, it's not a real thing. But, not only did the passion and the excitement and inspiration for playing come back, but songwriting it just really came back. And that was around the end of the summer before the quarantine.
Okay.
And I chose October 16th to become officially clean and sober because that was Stevie Ray Vaughan's sober date.
Okay.
And I want to be connected to that. And I knew that I'd be less, like if I ever got tempted,
right,
that I would be less, that I would want to stay the course because I just want to be connected,
Sure.
That was inspiring. As much as Stevie Ray Vaughan took his music seriously and as passionate as he was about that, he was also that passionate and that driven with sobriety and service.
That makes his death even sadder.
Oh,
when you take into consideration that for how long that monkey was on his back. And then not too long before he died, he really had cleaned up and he had turned the corner.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, turned it hard.
Yeah.
Like he was ready to, who knows what would have been available to him.
Yeah.
Just because, and he was happy.
Yeah.
He
looked good.
Yeah.
He played good. He always played good, but there was something more honest about his playing and his songs. The Family Style album he did with his brother and the last In Step album, just amazing. And he looked great. If you look at the two performances that he was on Austin City Limits, they're kind of bookend the front end of his. He never looked raggedy or bad, but you could tell he wasn't healthy. And then the second time, just the color and he was a good weight and he was happy and his playing was just really on point. he was an inspiring guy to me, and his recovery and his, how he put his sobriety first, that went a long way with me too. I've always wanted to just be the best that I can, and try to make my art as good as I can. And, you find ways to do that, and routines and lifestyles that can help accommodate that. And then people that are very inspiring to kind of learn from. And he definitely was. So that was October. And then, we had the quarantine started, I guess, March or something.
It was March 12th.
Yes, it was.
I had a tour that was supposed to begin that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything shut down.
So that's why I know it was March 12th.
Yeah, I remember that too. I had a gig the night before, and then everything shut down. And I quarantined with the girl that I was telling about, my girlfriend, and she lived in Conway. And I hate to say this because it was so hard for so many people, and we lost so much, and there was so many deaths, but that was the best year of my life. Like, I was super happy. I was, the song, I was, all the songs, I wrote so many songs and learned so many songs, so many good, covers. And all the songs I was writing had to do with what we were going through, That's why it felt like very chaotic, like a world on fire.
Well, you shouldn't feel guilty for making the best of what you're given. That's all we're asked to do in life.
Yeah, that's true.
Wherever the ball lies, you got to play it there.
Yeah.
So when somebody can take that and figure out how to make it the best year of their life, good on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw how many people struggled. My girlfriend, she lost her dad. He died of, it wasn't like, I didn't want to be shouting from the rooftops. Like,
sure. Yeah. No, I get that.
So, that was sort of like a secret glee that I held within, but it was just a beautiful year. Being introverted and already a pro at social distancing.
Sure. Yeah.
I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
I would just get up, make coffee, and sit outside on the back stoop and write and record, and then take a long walk with her. She had a dog. She has a dog, a black lab. Take walks, and I finally had a whole batch of new songs that I was really pleased with. I called my friend and engineer, Jeff Leonard, about doing some recording, and went to his place where he has his setup and started recording. I ended up recording like 40 songs.
Oh, man.
Much to probably his chagrin. And then chose, how many songs is that? 12? 14.
Yeah.
And then chose 14 to flesh out. But it was all having to do with that world, the world we were in. So it ended up being kind of like a concept album about, what I was going through, how there was still a lot of silver lining and a lot of hope and a lot of love, even within a world. So when it first happened, I was kind of thinking, maybe this is it, man.
Yeah.
It was very scary at first.
It really had me wondering at multiple points, like, is this going to tear everybody apart?
Yeah.
Are we going to figure out how to come back together and make this happen?
Yeah.
And it was still a little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very scary at first. I don't scare easily, but that was weird. Conway's already kind of a quiet, sleepy town, but it was like a ghost town. Like, you didn't see anybody, which was kind of cool in a way. But if I would take her dog for a walk, and if I ever saw anybody like on the trail, it was like I wanted to get so far away from them in case they had some deadly disease. Right. I was going to get, had us terrified.
Do you remember like watching TV? And it would be like a show. It would be like a sitcom from the 80s. Mm-hmm. And the way like there'd be a big crowd.
Yeah.
People would like put their arms around each other, and you're like,
oh yeah. Yeah. You saw things with a whole new perspective where like everything was dangerous. You know?
But
that was a great year for songwriting and music just returning to me. And it felt like I just had so much love for it that the music was just an extension of this newfound happiness and love in general, just for myself and for life. And I think the songs it really started to, I could tell a difference. Like there was no contrivance. It was just an extension of love.
Right.
I started doing you know how people were doing like live shows on,
Yep.
I started doing that and I realized how loved I was, and people really, they would tip. Like it was so much
Oh, yeah.
that it was like extremely humbling. I likened it to one time on Little House on the Prairie, Paul Ingalls fell off the roof and broke his ribs, so he couldn't harvest the fields. And you know that was a big deal. You know, if you can't harvest, like that whole year would be ruined. And the whole village, the whole town came in while he was laid up, harvest his field for him. And I remember thinking, wow, to be that loved, you know, that's got to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I started doing a weekly live stream during that time.
Yeah.
And with my day job, I was actually able to still work. I didn't miss a single day of work because of COVID.
Oh, really?
I screened porches.
Okay. Wow.
And they, for some reason, they decided that was necessary to keep America going. Is I had to keep screening porches. Yeah. So in one way, I would see all my friends who, of course, didn't have work, and on one hand, I'm like, they don't have work. That's their income. But at the same time, they're all like, "Oh, we're out working on our garden. We're rebuilding." I'm like, "You sons." So, but at the same time, I was grateful that, you know, there was no real change to my income and my livelihoods, my lifestyle. I did miss playing songs, and I missed having that connection. So I started having the live stream, and what I would typically do is, you know, for example, I knew one person I went to high school with who was struggling because, you know, he had trouble with his job. So I said, "Hey, this week tips are going to, I won't tell you who it is, but tips are going to this." Killer. And then I had another guy who was doing a thing for like children's cancer research. This week tips are going to this. But what I noticed doing that thing is people, especially because I'm from Ohio and my friends are 700 miles away, a lot of the time people were getting on there every week that I hadn't seen in years. And they're talking to me and they're talking to each other, and I'm reading the comments. And music, it not only can it be such an inspiring thing in and of itself, but the community it can foster and the way that it can connect people. That
amazing. It's amazing. I felt more connected, ironically, than I ever had. And we couldn't be around each other, but I felt it.
Because it wasn't forced connection.
Right.
When we're around each other, it's kind of forced.
Yeah.
I mean, but
we didn't take it for granted either. The fact that we even have the technology to be able to do that, it just seemed like people were just, I don't know, the hardships can bring out, there's a lot of silver lining, and you got to see a lot of love and a lot of humanity, you know, in the face of all that. And I felt very, very touched. And I, you know, being sort of to myself introvert or whatever, like, you know, it almost takes, you know, you like, you know, you don't really find out how loved you are till like you're in a coma or you're dead, and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know everybody loved me like that. You know? But I could really see it 100% through all that. So that was amazing. But that's another amazing thing about music is not only that it exists and the human brain could organize, you know, the 12 tones and make music. That's such an unbelievable miracle in the beginning.
We pulled it right out of the air, man.
Yeah. It's so amazing that we even have it. But every good thing in my life, every great relationship has come from music, you know? So I don't take it for granted. I'm extremely grateful and humbled by, I mean, I can't even believe that I can even make music, you know? I mean, I just, when I would watch my friend playing guitar when I was little, I was like, I could never do that, you know? Those strings are metal. Like, that hurts.
Right.
But to be able to do it, and it just feels like such a blessing, and I don't take it for granted. And I think because of the gratitude and the, you know, how much love I have for it, I just feel like a lot has come. I feel like a lot of blessings have come my way in the last couple of years that I didn't feel before. And I think it's from being open and being more relaxed and trusting more who I am, and learning to love myself and let love in. And then the way it's manifested or expressed through music. And it just feels like a complete joy. Before, when I would go do a gig, especially a solo gig, I'd dread it, and I'd almost kind of come in with a chip on my shoulder thinking, you guys aren't going to like this. Y'all aren't going to like me. And of course they didn't, because, everything's
because you put out that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a reflection.
Yeah.
But now, like, I can't wait. Like that night that I went to see you, I was excited, even though that's not like the greatest gig in the world or whatever, it's not like Carnegie Hall or, I was still, now every gig is I'm really excited. I take it seriously, and it has become just a real joy, and it never used to be.
Yeah.
People, the girlfriends I'd come home from a gig and they'd say, "How'd it go?" And I'd be like, "Don't ask."
Right.
I said, you say that every single gig.
You remember all the bad stuff, and you tend to forget some of the good stuff. Sometimes.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of good in those years early on in bands. But I just, like, again, I wasn't looking at it right. Now, it takes some getting older and changing your perspective about what's really important,
Well, one thing about, that particular gig we talked about bumping into each other, one thing I found extremely fortuitous was, number one, meeting you. And one thing I love doing when I meet new songwriters and we're both carrying CDs around is we swap CDs and I listen to this record, the record you're talking about. And it's a fantastic album, man.
Thank you.
And kind of getting ready for this podcast, I went back and listened to a little bit of Torture Town. I listened to Into the Light. And then I kind of early on, you were hard rocker, high energy, hard rock. Let's go. And then this record, it's just like, it's kind of a different you, man.
Yeah.
And knowing now about kind of coming through the tunnel to the other side of getting clean and everything, and approaching that part of your life, it's all making sense.
Right.
Like I was kind of just like, where'd this come from, man? Did you just like, I'm going to do this now? Or but and listening to the record, it's so full. It's like a full sounding organic. Even with Into the Light, I could definitely hear Mark Lanigan influence in the vocals, and little Tom Waits in the vocals on about, third of it. And then definitely the spacey kind of Floyd-esque kind of ambience.
Yes.
But this time around, it's got this, it's like a sort of open, organic, gritty folk that's very reminiscent of like Dylan's Time Out of Mind record, or like or the openness of like Mule Variations or Springsteen's Nebraska, where it's just its own like sort of organic mood that I dig, man.
That's very cool you say that, because those Nebraska and Time Out of Mind, those were kind of like the templates I wanted. I wanted an album like that,
Nice.
What's that guy's name? Damn. The guy who produced Time Out of Mind.
Daniel Lanewell.
Yeah. I love him, man. The production, the sounds he gets, the tones.
Oh man.
I sent him this album, and I said, I asked him, I said, it's been a dream to work with you, if you'd ever care, I this album was kind of based on Time Out of Mind.
Yeah.
That song on it. What is it?
Not Dark Yet?
No, it's the I'm not. I don't. There's a song on there. It's a slower ballad. I cover it, so I can't remember it, but that was sort of the template of it, and his playing and how deep it sounded in the. I kind of always like putting some, like, I hope to have a good song, but then I want something kind of weird and and hopefully haunting or creepy or odd to go with it. And that album was really a lot like that. And
one thing I have in my notes is I always appreciate when somebody makes a headphone album. Where when you put headphones in and you really listen, and I listen so deep, man. That's just how I do.
Yeah.
and you made a headphone album, because there's some stuff like you're like, wait, was that an Ebo back there? And whoever you had playing keys and organ on it really.
That's the
contributed.
That's Jonathan Lovett. He's a beautiful player. I mean, beautiful player. And I told him, I held him way back. I just said, play as basic as you can, and he could, we did a bunch of different takes, and the stuff he was doing was amazing. But I'm a big fan of less is more. Like, barely do anything, just trust the song.
In Going Down With You, the way that it's such a simple piano line and it's such a simple organ line. Yeah. And they're way back there, but they're so complementary. Yeah. Like that, to me, that's the sauce, man. That's the stuff that makes me. They're great songs. Yeah. It would have been a great record if you would have been playing acoustic guitar and singing. But the fact that, it's really interesting that was sort of your influence, though.
You nailed it. Like, totally.
I had never heard, you know the one he did with Emmylou Harris?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that till this week. Oh, and I was listening to that and going.
Dylan is such a treasure trove that, like, it takes a while to get to. There's so many sides of him, you know. Yeah. That it could take you a decade to get to an album or an era of his. See,
for me, it was a little different. Time Out of Mind came out when I was 16. Mm-hmm. So there are a couple performers that I would consider like legacy performers, like a Bob Dylan. He's been around forever.
Yeah.
Tom Petty, he was around forever.
Yeah.
But there were albums put out when I was at a very good age that legacy performers, it was like their new thing. Mm-hmm. So, like, I had always heard Mr. Tambourine Man. I had heard all the classic Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I remember Time Out of Mind being new.
Yeah.
And 16 when I'm starting to play guitar. Yeah. And that happened to be when Wildflowers came out.
Yeah.
And, like, you couldn't catch a better age at a better time with a better record.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's interesting. I didn't get to it till couple of years ago, like right before I started recording this, and it was so on my such a cool sound that's I wanted some heavy, not loud guitar, but just I wanted some cool tones like that. But
it's a heavy ambience.
Yeah. Buckley was that way. Like you talk about a legacy artist that came along at the right time. His first thing I ever heard was just his solo stuff doing this Shanae, this little tiny coffee house, and that changed a lot for me. His guitar playing, that really, like the way he played, there's a Van Morrison song he plays on, Way Young Lovers Do. His playing, that instantly changed my playing. Like a lot of people don't really pick up what a great guitar player he was, but there was some magical guitar playing on that, and then his album Grace. There's so many great albums and so much great music that it might take a while to get to. It took me a long time to get to Dylan. It took me a long time to get to Bowie. At first I was kind of like, I don't know. I was like that about Radiohead. I was like, I don't know, this is a little bit much, as the kids say, extra today.
Sure.
But it ended up, and I took Petty for granted. Like Petty has some, like the Stones and Petty, they have so many great songs. They're always on the radio that they can just kind of wash over you, and you're not really. But it wasn't until I started actually really trying to write good songs and then watch that video, that documentary.
Yep.
That it really, I was like, wow, I kind of overlooked this guy and his genius,
Yeah.
So now,
well, all you get, you typically get the radio hits, and you typically get whatever's like the flashiest.
Right.
And, the shiny things distract the masses. But then sometimes when you get to listen to that deep catalog, that generally doesn't get played because it's not radio friendly, or because it's not something a lot of people latched onto. You mentioned to me, like in a message, like Warren Zevon.
Yeah.
Warren Zevon, I actually knew nothing about, except for Werewolves of London, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until a buddy of mine that, when I started writing, when I started being a singer-songwriter, I wrote songs in bands.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started being a singer-songwriter, he kind of started at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was Tom Waits all the way,
Mm-hmm.
and he was Warren Zevon all the way. And he's like, my favorite guy is Warren Zevon. And I was like, whose favorite guy is Warren Zevon?
Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
You're right.
That's dumb.
Well, then he started playing me some of this other stuff, and I was just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Same with me. It wasn't until he was on Letterman that I heard him do Yo Ho Ho in a Bottle of
Mutineer. I do that one. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That it really, I was like, whoa. And then his voice is so cool, his tone, his vibrato. And then when I listened to your album, immediately I was like, this guy's got to be a Warren Zevon.
Really?
Like even the tone, even your tone, it's like the writing, the tone. I was very impressed because I was thinking, Warren is one of my favorite songwriters. And so hearing yours, I was like, I think we park our cars in the same garage. This guy's, he's got to be into the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How old are you?
40.
Okay.
40. 12 years younger than you?
Yeah.
Somewhere 13, in that range.
13. But I feel a kindred. Like
I was doing the math when you said when you graduated.
Yeah, so. I don't know how, but it turned around. I'm 53. I'm like, when did that happen?
Yeah, dude. Musically, we definitely drink from the same well.
Yes.
Especially, even looking at some of the videos you do on like your YouTube page. And I noticed when Mark Lanigan passed, you did some Lanigan tunes.
Yeah.
And your first record, just how much is in there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, we're going to get along.
Yeah. I loved Lanigan. I love the darkness that, and of course his voice. I love his album Bubblegum. That was I forgot, that's got to be in 2000. I don't know. I should know that, but it's pretty old now. And then he had another album that was kind of a lesser album. It's called Houston Publishing Demos.
Yes.
There's those two albums. All his albums and all his lyrics. I love his lyrics.
My favorite two, I'm a big fan of Blues Funeral.
Record.
And then the one he did with Isabel Campbell Hawke.
Oh yeah.
I love that record.
Yeah.
He's
kind of like Bowie. I love his voice so much that almost anything he does,
Oh man, I love when he sang songs with Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big Queens of the Stone Age fan.
Me too.
And
I always wondered with his low tone, how hard it is to hear yourself like playing in a band. Like I always wanted to pick his brain about how they got that dialed in.
Somehow though, it's low, but it's got a bitey high end to it.
Yeah. There's some treble in his. It's like the bass and the treble in his voice is turned way up.
Yes,
but you can always hear it cutting through. And I've always wondered because I sing a lower register, and sometimes that's hard to hear.
For sure.
Like
that's where all the frequencies build up. That's where the upper bass, the lower guitar, the toms. That's where everything kind of builds up, and you kind of just got to scoop them all out. And figure out what's important.
But an album, it's easy to thread that needle, but like live.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Queens of the Stone Age, I was wondering how's he hearing himself? But yeah, I love the darkness, strange and weird and dark has always been. That's why I like Pink Floyd.
Well, he picks up where Tom Waits left off. Too.
Yeah, but like a darker, more hopeless, Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love those kinds of. I love Tom Waits. Love Lanigan. Love Jim Morrison.
Little Nick Cave in there.
Nick Cave, the Cult, the singer from the Cult, Ian Astbury. I call those after midnight. Vocalists. With that. Their voice is just so soulful and so hits me right at the heart, and it's usually some darkness in there too.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. Life was no cakewalk for me, which ended up becoming a godsend when it came to writing albums. Writing music, and because
the well's full.
Yeah, if you don't have struggle, it's I have friends that kind of had good lives, so their songs aren't that
that I have trouble with that a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I've lived a really cushy lifestyle.
That's great.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think next
great.
life I'm gonna take an easy route, even if it means my art isn't as interesting. Like,
yeah,
it might be nice to like have a nice easy life for once. But that getting such a late start and having sort of a challenging childhood and adolescence, I think helped me have more to say,
right.
And then, I'm not saying, hey, kids, become addicted and be miserable and suicidal and depressed, but it does, you do get some good lyrics out of it.
Sure.
When I was coming out of that, I was thinking, wow, this is some good, this make some good songs, this make a good album. Then I was thinking this would be a good concept for a whole band. That's why I was saying
right.
Torture Town. Torture Town was just a reflection, just the prisons that we keep ourselves in. The door to our cells locked from the inside. You don't have to be in there if you don't want to, like wallow in the darkness. But I guess we all kind of got to go through our things. But it definitely helped with having something to write about and lyrics and so forth. But I always gravitated towards more like Pink Floyd, like Roger Waters, and Lanigan. Tom Waits has some darkness in there too,
especially before he got sober.
Yeah,
like when he was, who knows what would have happened if he hadn't met his wife? He probably would have drank himself into oblivion. Then been done,
I never got like, even in his dark songs, there was still a tongue in cheek.
They were,
I didn't ever worry about, I hope he's okay. But like you do with Mark Lanigan, like you always kind of expected him to turn
burn out.
Yeah. And like just find out he died one day,
yeah.
which he did,
and not for why
we don't know.
Well, we don't
like
know,
that hasn't been, did he relapse? Was it,
sure.
I know he had complications with COVID, but I wasn't surprised at all. In fact, I was kind of surprised.
I was sad. Yeah, there's a lot that you're not surprised about. Lane Staley, you weren't surprised about.
Yeah.
Scott Weiland, you weren't surprised.
Right.
I was surprised about Chris Cornell.
Yeah, that seems.
Robin Williams, though.
Yeah.
The more you look,
yeah,
in a retrospective thing, you're like, damn.
Yeah, there was a mania to him that almost seemed like a way to keep things not at arm's length.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. But the Chris Cornell thing. That doesn't seem all the way right. I've heard, I'm no stranger to conspiracy theories across the board with everything. It's always been sort of a fascination, but I've heard some things about some things that he was involved with, and they're saying murder, but I mean, he was on top of the world.
Man, it always seemed like him and Eddie Vedder were just going to ride through until they were 100,
Yeah. that was a giant, confusing, heartbreaking thing. But again, I don't know who prescribed him Klonopin or what, he was on some benzodiazepine that you don't give an addict, and then I don't really know what happened, but that was a major loss.
Man, there are always, in everybody's life, there's a deep, dark night.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't have access to things that are not going to drive, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing where it's access
in
times, in places.
Yeah.
And you, like you said, you can't give an addict.
Yeah. You got to know what's not good for you,
Yeah.
And you got to have, I guess you have to have something that's worth not going that route, like for me,
there's
music,
points of weaknesses, even if you don't, though. I mean, it's like I said, everybody's.
Yeah. He had a beautiful family.
Yep.
He was a great dad. He was back with Soundgarden. He was on top of the world.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's terribly sad, but, if you listen to his music and you listen to his, lyrics, they speak to a kind of a heavy-hearted, darker, kind of thing, but also made for some very cool songs and so forth. But
absolutely,
that was terrible.
Yeah,
we've lost a lot of great musicians in the last 10 years. Ever since Bowie died, it feels like the whole world has unraveled.
Bowie or Petty or Prince,
like
like those three. those three, like there are ones you're as sad as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Hawkins doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Eddie Van Halen.
That's a health thing.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Cornell.
Yeah.
It just, the world has really changed a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. You know, like we're on a crash course. Like it's speeding up the shift that's happening. I hope it's for the better.
For sure. And that's where that brings us World on Fire.
Yeah, totally.
So before we take a pivot into your songwriting, care to share a song for us?
Yeah, I'd love to. The title track, World on Fire, I think it'd be a good one to do.
Sure.
And the song, remember how I was saying about how this girl, her love kind of helped. It's kind of like a beacon for me to get back on track with who I really was and get back in my heart and so forth. I wrote a song for her called Song for My Angel. But now we broke up and I got to find a new broad to give it to. No, just kidding. We're still really good friends. In fact, I have her aforementioned Labrador Retriever with me now. He's staying at the house with me. We're still really close, but those two songs, not only I think are poignant, especially about what we've been talking about, but also I think they're really good songs on the album. I like all the songs, but those two I think are two good ones to do. One, just because it kind of overview of the whole concept, the world being on fire, and how there's silver lining in that too. And then finding someone that is extremely generous and extremely loving, so much so for that it's a light in your life, you know, and taking a minute for gratitude and recognition of that. Because she really, really is an angel. I mean, really, every word of that is true. And that song, I got a really late. I didn't ever use a capo. I didn't ever use alternate tunings. I didn't even use drop D until I started writing songs for this album. And then I went drop D crazy and capo crazy. But that song for My Angel, was the first song that I ever wrote with a capo.
Okay.
I always thought it was like cheating or something, you know, but it's not. It's just having those open chords and open voicings.
Yeah, it's getting a different voicing in a different place. Yeah.
And I reference never having used the capo.
I was wondering what that lyric was about.
Yeah, never I put a capo on it, and it just wrote itself.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, wow, how many other things have I been wrong about, come to find out, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't think I liked raisins for like 52 years. And then I had some raisins up at Accent on Wine. I have some baklava afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
And they put some raisins on there, and I was like, I usually don't like raisins. But, you know, let's see if I just look at them, and the texture just seems kind of gross to me. And I ate them. I was like, you know what, these are pretty good. So it's like, how many other things have I decided aren't good for me that I end up loving? But like capo, that was the first song that I wrote with a capo. And I feel like, wow, that might be one of the best songs I've ever written. So that made its way into the song too. So that was, those would probably be two good songs for this session, you know, like what we've been talking about.
Cool. Well, let's hear World on Fire, man.
Yeah, let's do that. I see the smoke on the horizon. I feel the storm raging on the wind. I hear the thunder in all directions. Think I see the flames coming on again. Sometimes the clouds come out of nowhere, and some you see from miles away. Sometimes the darkness blinds your vision. Sometimes the lightning lights your way. If I hold on to something,
I can hold on to the dream if I hold on to something. I can hold on to me. I see the mountains start to crumble. I see the stars dropping from the sky. I see these flames ain't going nowhere. So I'm gonna watch my world burn up tonight. If I hold on to something, I can hold on to the dream. If I hold on to something, I can hold on to me. All these things will wash away, and all the flames will light the way, and all the sporn turns back to clay. Every storm runs out of rain. I see a world lost in darkness. It's broken deep inside. But a world that's broken open is broken open wide. If I hold on to something, I can hold on to the dream. If I hold on to something, I can hold on to me.
Very nice, man.
Thank you.
When it comes to writing songs, do you say like, okay, I'm going to write a song now, and you grab your guitar and you grab a pencil and a piece of paper? Do you sit down to write a song, or is it more just kind of trying to catch them as they fly by?
That's a great question. I try to write a song almost every day. But they come when they come. Yeah. And that's obvious because I can write a song even though one's not coming to me.
Uh-huh.
I kind of think ideas and songs might already sort of exist. And if you can be in the right space and you can catch it out of the ether, so I'm always trying to, at least I'm trying to show up, and I'm here in case the muse wants to come. I'll hear a song, or I'll hear a song in a movie, and I'll sit down and play, but I'd say 8 to 9 times out of 10, nothing comes.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends up just kind of being me plunking around on the guitar. But there might be something cool, like some little lick or riff or progression that happens that I'll record.
Uh-huh.
And kind of stew on, or maybe put it in the closet, and then it might come back later. But yeah, I do want to sit down and I do want to write a song. But it kind of has a mind of its own. A lot of times it won't come, and that can be frustrating, but that's just kind of how it is. Like, it's been a while since I wrote a song for me. And sometimes that'll be a little bit frustrating, but I know that's just how it goes.
Right.
So I'm kind of in between songs right now. Like nothing has no good ideas. Like I'll have I'll have an idea or a phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just like one little part of something, and I'll record that, and hopefully that will take root and sprout. So I'll if a phrase comes to mind, like better than nothing, I'll write that down. Or calling on the lonely, calling on the lonely tonight, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds like it could be the turnaround of a chorus. So I'll kind of, sometimes that there's no really set way, but it seems like the good ones almost come all in one. Like
that's been my experience, man. You work. I think the harder you have to work for it, that means it's not natural.
Yeah, right.
And then sometimes, man, I have literally had songs that have written themselves in real time. Like you'll sit there and sometimes it's one phrase that unlocks the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because once you get that phrase right, the rest is just like, oh, it relates to that.
Yeah.
Bingo, bango.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, often what I'll do is I'll be just playing, I'll pick up the guitar and just start kind of playing chords and like a progression. And then like I'll hear a melody that would sit good on that, and I'll just start kind of kind of not really words, but maybe a phrase will come along, or maybe one word will kind of develop. It's almost like you want to put the right vowels,
Sometimes, do you ever see how Mick Jagger talks about he just kind of sings jibber jabber over?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll like find a word,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden that's the only word that fits there.
Yeah, right. and it also inform like, oh, this is trying to be about like whatever that word or whatever that phrase is. Like calling all the lonely, or calling on the lonely. I'm like, oh, this is a song about alienation. Like it wants to be about that. So yeah, if you could just catch a break, if you could just get just give me one little spark, then I'm off to the races. But that's not, that kind of has a mind of its own, and it ends up being not that good. I will see a song all the way through. I mean, I will work.
That's my problem, man. Like I start it, and if I feel like I'm pushing it too hard, in a way that it doesn't feel real to me, or if I'm like, oh, this seems contrived. My problem is I have to let myself write a whole bad song. Because you got to.
It's a good exercise.
It's a muscle. It's a muscle to build.
Yes.
And by putting the weights back on the rack, I'm not lifting the weights.
Right.
So that's something I need to get over.
And also, you might have like just a little piece of a song that you can rip off later. Like if you see it all the way through, there might be something.
Yeah, the stupid part was the first 10%, and then the last 90% was keepable. Yeah.
Or like, like this could be a bridge over here now, or what I thought was the chorus here could be like a verse over here. I just feel like it's, I mean, what better am I going to do? Like I'm not doing anything else. So I will see it through, even if I know that it's not really a good song, or a keeper. I will still try to, just for an exercise, write it and come back to it later, or show it to somebody. Like I might show it to my friend Jeff, and he might tweak it, and
he might find something in it that you haven't found.
Right?
Yeah, I have a couple friends that are good springboards for that.
Yeah.
And
that's really that's great if you have a friend that can just kind of you didn't see it this way, and then they just make one little thing, and then bam,
it's like a Rubik's cube. They make a couple turns and then hand it back to you, and you're like, oh, okay, this is solvable now.
Yeah.
When you start into a song, number one, do you ever start into a song and kind of think in terms of any of your influences? Like, well, this is sort of a Roger Waters song.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. A lot of times I will just outright take a song and just completely try to rip it off. But I've always been like that, even with like visual art. Like I would try to draw or paint something, just try to rip off another painting or another, and it never ends up looking like that. And along the way, it turns into its own thing.
All of your influences have influences.
Yeah.
And they are all the culmination of their influences. I mean, nothing is born in a vacuum. So
that's true. That one of the last songs I wrote it was a song that could be more heavy, more rocking, more like in the Torture Town or Fairy Godmother's batch. the Chili Pepper, the new Chili Pepper album wasn't out yet, but they had released the Black Summer, the single. And I liked how that chorus really opened up and was kind of a triumphant musical. And so I purposely just went to rip that off. And of course, it ended up, well, I might change the key or maybe not even. But it ends up kind of, you just need, I just need one push, you know?
Right.
So yeah, a lot of times I'll go to, right, like I'll be listening to Bowie, or there'll be a part of a Bowie song that I'll really like, and I will just rob it, you know? But yeah, like, and I would like, what would Tom Petty do here? Or,
sure.
You know, those are good because those are the masters, you know?
Oh yeah. Now, do you, a lot of, I mean, obviously you're writing it on acoustic guitar. It's you and acoustic guitar, but do you hear the rest?
I do. I always do, but, and I do a lot of recording, a lot of tracking at my house. I'm working on an album right now. And I used to be really attached to the way I heard it in my head and want it to be like that. But I've learned that if you just stay open and maybe don't do it all in one sitting.
Sure.
You know, you like, I have the basic idea for the song, but then I want, you know, other things in there that are just as interesting, but I might like walk away from it or go see a movie or take a walk or listen to something. And then I'll hear a bass line that will, you know, I just, yeah, even though I feel like I do hear the whole thing, I'm always pleasantly surprised that it ends up being not what I was thinking it was going to be, or even wanting it to be, but just as cool. That's another thing that I've learned. Like, you know, I've written papers, or, you know, I write a lot, and I might accidentally delete something, or, you know, or lose some lyrics or something. And then I realize, like, well, you know, if I did something cool before, I, you know, just have that trust in yourself that, that like, it may not be what, you know, I just spent 2 days on this.
This may not land where I want it to land.
Or it might not be what I was working on. But now this new thing, or this new way that I sing it, or this new vibe that I have, or, you know, it's just as cool. It's a little different.
Yeah.
So that's okay. And I feel like a lot of times that you think that things were unfortunate or mistakes, or you lost this, or this got deleted or whatever, it ends up opening a door that you're pleasantly surprised. And it also kind of can be a good thing, you know? So yeah, I do have an idea of how I want the whole song to be, but I'm always very open to whatever comes. And I try to write to where, like, even if it was just on guitar, just me and the guitar singing, it would be good enough that way.
Sure. Yeah. The best songs can be boiled down to the most simple components. And still fly.
Yeah.
When it comes to thinking of songs like that, can you think of songs not by yourself, but by other people that you can put that song up on a pedestal and go, you know, for this 3 minutes and 37 seconds, they did what they set out to do? Is there any songs that you consider to sort of be the pinnacle of a written song?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know why this came to mind right away, but Don't Fade. It's a song in drop D on Wildflowers.
Yeah.
That, it's only 2 chords, you know, it's just D and C, the little turnaround, but like, that is so good. Or Wildflowers, the song, just that alone. You got some good lyrics and a good melody, and it's a, you know, the form, the arrangement, like, you know, when the chorus comes, if it's all strong, these days, I'd almost rather see, there's a friend of mine, he's a great singer. He was in some great bands, a guy named James Hall in Atlanta, originally from New Orleans. And he was in a band, seminal band, Pleasure Club. But, and he's in bands now, and they're great. Everything he does is great. But the older I get and the more into songs and songwriting I get, the more I'd really rather just see someone with an acoustic guitar. Yeah. And like, let's see how good the song is.
Sure.
Or isn't.
Right.
And I learn really quickly, like if I write a new song and I go to play it, like I can just tell playing it in public that like this is not strong, or this needs work, or I should just not play it anymore.
There are some musicians that I've actually had the benefit of seeing both ways. I've
Yeah.
like seen them with their band,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you see them like figure out a way to reinvent it and
Yeah.
boil it down and
Yeah.
just give you the simplest part of it.
Like Nebraska, like you said.
Oh yeah.
All the great songs, and I like great songs, and I like great songwriting. Dylan, like just Neil Young. All he needs, like the melodies are so good, and the lyrics are so good, and the playing is the guitar playing, like that's all you really need.
I've always said that what I want from a songwriter is to tell me what I already knew in a way that I didn't know it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. It took me a long time to appreciate the actual craft of songwriting. I was duped by, good drumming, loud, guitar. And
Oh, the
guitar
flashy
playing.
things. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I thought the reason why I liked Hendrix was because of the guitar, But it turns out he just had such great songs. All those songs are genius songs. 3 minutes, and he didn't really, like on the albums, he didn't really. I mean, there'd be a guitar solo, but it wasn't really a guitar album, even though, people, you could make a case for that, but it was really the songs. And it took me a while to realize the song is king, the end of the day,
The rest is just frosting, man. If you don't have a cake to put it on, you got nothing.
Yeah. And I just, when I first went to picked up guitar, I wanted to rip and solo and do all that stuff. And I spent a lot of time trying to get that together, only to find out, as I got older, that it was really, you don't really need a guitar solo.
Right.
You need a good song.
Right.
Because there's a lot of really great guitar players that you'll never hear of because they don't really have the song.
I've never felt much. I've never cared much for like guitarists like Steve Vai or Joe Satriani. It's just because I get it. It's neat. I'll watch it. But I won't listen to it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a song.
Right.
It's
a
display of virtuosity.
Yeah.
And I dig it.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Yeah.
In the same way that I want to see a spectacle, but yeah.
I've changed to be more like what you're saying. And if I had like a great guitar player play with me, I'd almost want him to like, now listen to the melody and support that.
Yeah.
I don't really need a blistering solo. Maybe when it comes time, maybe play the melody,
A lot of people like thumb their nose at like, oh, that's just yeah. And it's great.
Yeah. Much more so, I think, than licks,
Sure. A pentatonic lick. I don't feel a pentatonic lick.
Yeah.
Mike Campbell.
Yeah.
That dude.
Yeah.
His like the lines he creates in songs on guitar.
Yeah.
It's almost a second melody.
It is.
Yeah.
They're like songs like if he does a solo, it's like a little song.
Yes.
Mike Campbell is the perfect guitar player for, like I said, I was watching that video, the documentary again last night, and his playing is just so perfect.
It's so absolutely tied in with the song that a lot of people overlook him.
Yeah.
Because there's no flash.
Yeah.
He could.
But if you didn't have that in the song, it'd be missing terribly.
Absolutely.
Breakdown. Like that's so perfect. But it's not flashy.
Right.
It just works. It just fits in there. It's just so good. And Tom was smart enough to know that. Like
for sure.
The story of that song is they had him just kind of jamming along. And at the very end of about a 10-minute him jamming, he did that lick. But he did it on slide.
He's like, "That's it.
Yeah,
you're doing that."
And they called him.
That's the song.
It was like 4 a.m. He's like, "Hey, come down here. We got what you want to do." He's like, "What's 4 a.m.?" He's like, "Yeah, I know. Come on down." And he did that. He did that line that he does on Breakdown, but without a slide.
Yeah.
And it just made the song.
For sure.
I like motifs. I like having a good song, but then finding some melody or some motif or something, some signature lick or. So, I call them motifs. Like
Something that ties it together.
Yeah.
Something that puts the bow on it, you know?
Yeah. I like that. And I like something weird too.
Yeah.
Something a little off or a little haunting or like,
Yep.
what is that? And I was watching, I think it was the making of Damn the Torpedoes or something. And they had this big chart of like, you know, the songs they were working on, like got the vocals done, got the bass done, and then one of their columns was something weird. And I was like, I love it. You know, like they would, we got a good song, but we need like a little something off or a little something weird.
I do that whenever I record. I do what I like to call kitchen sink production.
Yeah.
Where I just throw everything at it because you can always take it away later.
That's right. That's right.
And when I made my record, and believe me, it was 5 years ago. I hadn't been recording for a long time. There's a lot of that I would wish I could redo.
Yeah.
A lot of those songs were new. I performed it. But however,
yeah.
There is something I love to do where I got to do something for myself in there. And even if it's something you're only going to hear in headphones.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah. I love that. It's there's a lot of inside jokes you have with yourself or like little treats.
Well, my favorite records are like that. Yeah. Like my favorite records, and that's actually going to be my next question. But my favorite records, it's something where a little thing in between songs.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't hear that, it'd be weird.
Yeah,
or if you didn't hear this song after that song.
Yeah.
If you play Heartbreaker and you don't play Livin' Lovin' Made, it's like I had to sneeze and couldn't sneeze.
That's
so aside from 1984, are there any other are there any other records where, let's say you got 40 minutes and I say you got one record to listen to right now, that's the only way you're going to spend these 40 minutes. Do you have a few records where you're like, this is what I'm spending my time with?
Oh gosh. Yes. Let's see. I've listened to the albums that I loved. I've listened to them so much that I could probably be okay without hearing them again. But when people ask me, what songs do you play or what kind of music do you like or what songs do you cover or what albums you like, I don't know why, but like I kind of draw a blank. There's so many great albums. Grace, the Buckley album was seminal for me. All the Hendrix albums were seminal. Not the first three, but the second, third, and fourth Bowie album. Those are huge, like not only the songwriting and the singing, but also the production, very unique production back then. I usually like the albums that aren't like Van Halen, I like Women and Children First and the least selling album of Fair Warning. I like Animals a lot, the Pink Floyd,
That's a great record.
I like the deeper, not the hits, not the songs.
Sure.
There's like the petty songs that I like are usually the ones that, they might have. I'll tell you what, I like the best song on albums, but it's not the hit. But
sure,
it's
you like track 8 and 9.
Yeah,
yeah,
the ones that people love, but they wouldn't be like the Doors. I like the end.
Right.
That's seminal song, but it wasn't like a hit.
Right.
It's too long. It's too weird. That I love. Lately, there's a Doyle Bramhall 2. Doyle Bramhall was a drummer and songwriter in Austin who died, but he has a son that's my age, who has played with everybody. He played with Roger Waters. He played with Eric Clapton. He's got a band with Archangels, but he does a lot of he's played with Sheryl Crow. He has his own songs. He's got an album called Jelly Cream.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of bluesy rocking guitar, but it's great songs. And he is an amazing singer. I mean, like his voice, he's got one of my favorite, he's one of my favorite writers, favorite guitar players, favorite singers. Very soulful. I still have a lot of blues in me, for better or worse. it's not really cool to be too bluesy,
Yeah.
but he's taken blues to a new, very interesting place.
Right.
And it's not 1-4-5. It's not just typical blues. I like him. I like the guy that I mentioned before, James Hall. He was in Pleasure Club. That was a seminal band. I like, as far as like the heavier hitting, I like songs like, like Soundgarden or Rage Against the Machine, not Rage Against the Machine, but the band he was in, Audio Slave.
Yeah.
But I like the music to be strong and heavy and tough, but I want a nice juxtaposition to something very melodic and musical and great singing.
Yeah.
Radiohead, OK Computer is a seminal album for me. That great songwriting, very moody, very dark. It's got a lot of weirdness to it too.
Yeah.
Kind of like a postmodern Pink Floyd.
Sure.
But I just kind of end up loving almost anything. But it seems to, the big ones have been Hendrix, Bowie. I love Iggy Pop, Doyle Bramhall, James Hall. I'm sure I'm leaving a lot out.
It seems like our society is gravitating more and more, and everything's cyclical, but we're getting more towards the single.
Mm-hmm.
With social media and everything. It's what do you got for me this week?
Yeah.
What song? I can't listen to 40 minutes. You got 3 minutes,
Yeah.
and then next week you got 3 more, but I can't wrap my brain around a singles thing.
I've never been the way the trends of the world. It's never dictated to me how, what I like and what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do what I do.
There's always going to be people out there.
Yeah. There's going to be guys like you or me or you that feel that, I'm older. So, do people want 14 songs? Probably not. But in my life, I've never been mad at a band for having too many songs on an album.
Right.
Never.
I appreciated it, man.
Yeah,
it's a good record.
If they're good songs, they should be on there.
For sure.
And I've never been one to be scared that like this is too much or this. I just love what I love and I do what I do, and it'll find if you do it. If your intentions are good and it's come from a good place, honest place in your heart, it's going to connect. Not with everybody,
Right.
I'm not for everybody. You're not for everybody. That's fine. Not everybody's for me.
Sure.
But you'll find
the world's big enough, man.
Yeah. There's room for everything.
Yeah.
There's so many colors in the rainbow.
Sometimes I've been playing a gig and I've looked over and I've seen a person and said, if you're happy with what I'm doing, it means I'm not doing my job. Like you see somebody, you're like, I don't care about making you happy.
Yeah, right.
I want to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's always, I'm not for everyone, but I feel like the people that feel it really feel it deeply.
Sure, man.
A lot of the things that are kind of trendy and kind of they don't go that deep. It just seems kind of,
and they'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
we just talked about the Beatles. We talked about Jimi Hendrix, and it's been 70 years.
Yeah.
Are they going to be talking about Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
That's
a good question. I know that like the Zeppelins and the, and the Stones, they're going to last the test of time. I don't know about the other stuff. Maybe it will. I don't really know a lot about current popular trendy music.
Yeah.
And I'm never one to put it down because, I'm glad people have, if whatever makes them happy, whatever brings people joy.
For sure.
I'm really glad for you. And I'm never like, oh, that sucks. Or maybe when I was younger, I'd be, but now after getting older, I realize, there's room for everything. Everybody is moved by different things. And even if I see a movie that's kind of cheesy or like it took a lot of work.
Oh man.
And I can really appreciate the artistry of it, even if it's not my cup of tea.
Sure.
And I think that helps too. And I think that's a mark of a good musician or like if you can, you got to just stay open,
Sure.
You got to like, try to like, there should be something in anything that even if it was just like the tone of the kick drum or, you know,
I've heard a Britney Spears song before that I've been like, you know, I bet you if I looked at the EQ curve on this thing, it would look beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That happens a lot. I was never too into modern country or rap. But like if I hear it, like there's always like, oh, that's a cool beat, or the flow of those stanzas.
Oh yeah,
you know, that's cool.
I know why that sells records.
Yeah. And then a lot of country things, like you may not be your cup of tea, but the way it's recorded and produced and the playing on it is like,
oh man, there's especially modern country. There is stuff where I'll be like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Also, in no way can I do that.
Yeah.
Like it's fantastic singing that I just don't like.
Right. Exactly.
And that the world's big enough for all of it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we should be grateful.
Yeah.
You know?
I believe. Yeah. I think that's just going to make your art better to at least stay open to respecting and appreciating other people's art. I think it can help a lot.
For sure.
I didn't really think much about Garth Brooks, but then I saw the thing on Netflix. It's like a little two special, and I love him to death. I think he's a way better musician, a way better guitar player than I ever would have thought.
Yeah, man.
And
Dude sells out arenas, and
he has so much passion for what he does, and it's so real.
Yeah.
And he's a sentimental old cuss. He'll start crying, and I'll be getting choked up. I'll be watching him and just how much he's feeling, and what it means to me. It give me chill bumps, and it's just very inspiring. I just
say, "You go, G."
Yeah. I like this guy. I love his enthusiasm, his passion. You know, it's very inspiring. I think if you stay open and you are looking, you're going to look for you're going to find what you're looking for. And if you go in with a chip on your shoulder and thinking you're going to not like this or not like this person or not like that artist or this movie or whatever, you probably won't. But I don't think that'll serve you and your art as much as if you were to stay open and look for the diamonds in the rough. You know, it may not be your cup of tea, but they're, like I say, like the production or the drum beat or just something. The harmonies might, you know. I went to see a band the other night. They weren't my cup of tea, but the stage lighting, like that was like, wow.
Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I want to do that now, you know.
Yeah, man. Well, I gotta say, I'm grateful we ran into each other.
Yeah,
man.
me too.
And honestly, it wasn't that bad of a situation.
Yeah,
there's other ones that could have went much worse.
I liked how you handled that. I knew you were a good dude just by how smooth and finesseful and you know, I hated that you were already set up, you know.
You saw how quick I tore that down.
Yeah.
But man, I appreciate meeting you and getting to know you a little better.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming over this afternoon. I believe you owe me one more song, man.
Yeah. Love to.
Let's hear it.
Which one did I do before? World on Fire?
You did World on Fire.
Okay.
And you were going to do...
I'm going to do Song for My Angel.
You were.
Which is a true story about the young lady I was with who really is an angel. There's people that you could just feel their heart and their generosity, and it's just so real. Her knee-jerk reaction is and was always love. You know, no matter what happened, even if someone was cruel or unfair to her, you know, it was so inspiring to me. I think the highest we can aspire to and the highest a human could evolve to is being loving and generous and grateful. And she is that naturally. And that was so inspiring. I strive to be that. That is my goal. It's not a natural default setting for me at all. But it feels right. It feels real. It feels like the thing to do. And it feels like the most intelligent, inspiring, most evolved way to be is just, you know, whatever it is, the answer is what would love do? And she did that. And that changed me. And so the song just sort of wrote itself. It is just about her love and love in general. And it ended up being, I think, a good song. If I had to play a song, if I ever went to Nashville and they said, "Well, what do you got?" You know,
That's the one.
That one and World on Fire would probably, like, as far as like songs, like the most well-written songs I have. I feel like those are two strong, for me, strong. And they're both the content is close and real and honest. So
well, they're great songs, man. Great songs on a great record. Let's hear it.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
I used to stumble around in the darkness, fumble alone, unfound and heartless, but you brought the sunshine straight down from above. I never met such a kind-hearted angel. You give everything away to a stranger. You give just to live just to give love away. So I'd like to thank you for all you have done. And I'd love to give you star in the sun. I'd love to love you and give you this song. I never wrote a song for an angel, and I never had use for a capo, but I took your love, turned it into a song. You can hold it, you can keep it safe. You can save it for a rainy day. But I know an angel like you, just give it away. 'Cause all that we own is what we give away. Again and again, your love is a friend, it's true. So I'm not alone, your heart is my home with you. It's where I belong, I give the song to you. You can hold it, you can keep it safe. You can save it for a rainy day. But I know an angel like you, just give it away. 'Cause all that we own is what we give away. And all that will last is what we give away. Love in your heart, a song for my angel to stay.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Doug Walters as much as I did. Get two guys talking about music, and we could have gone on for hours and hours. Since this conversation, I actually helped Doug make a music video, and I'm looking forward to working with him in the future. Thank you once again for listening to Songs of the Unsung. Check us out, songsoftheunsung.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and just reach out to me if you have any questions or comments or you'd like to be on an episode. Thanks again.